Ladies and gentlemen, gather around for a unique look into the world of custom motorcycling. We've gathered some of the industry's top builders and fabricators on this stage to show you their skills live and in person. Watch as they chop, grind, and weld their creations into existence right before your very eyes. Feel free to ask questions at any time directly to your host, Pat Jansen. The doors to the shop are open, so pull up a stool, kick back, and welcome to the Grease and Gears Garage.
All right, big round of applause. Moira, this is where you clap for me. I can't clap. It's really simple. We'll do a class later. We'll do a whole segment on it. Oh, now she's from Texas. She does it this way. Woo, doggy. It's good to see you.
You know what she's doing the other hand, holding that Lone Star beer.
She's got a hankering for a Lone Star beer. My name's Pat. And we're going to do a segment up here. We're just a bunch of dirty mechanics, actually. We got shops all over the country. We build custom motorcycles. And what we want to do with Grease and Gears Garage is invite you into a garage environment and let you experience what it's just a slice of life out of building something, doing something that we do every day in one of our garages across the country. So right now what we're going to be doing, we also are on Facebook Live. So if you want to see what else we've been doing, you can go back and look, motorcycleshows.com, jmpcycles.com, and cyclesourcemagazine.com, cyclesource.com. We're building this bike from the first show to the last show over the 7-show series. It's going from a bare frame all the way to a bike. And a lot of the stuff that we're doing concerns different pieces on this bike. During this segment, we're going to be looking at this Weld Table a little bit. Where did Xavier go? He left. Isn't he doing this segment with the Weld Table? He'll come back. Anyway, we have this really sweet piece of tooling. That's the other thing Grease and Gears Garage wants to do. It's kind of demystify the whole tool scenario about shops. This is a really cool table from weldtables.com, and they've just sent us, thanks to a plea from Xavier from Providence Cycles, all kinds of stuff, a bunch of clamps and fixtures and stuff. And so Xavier's going to go over what this table does, and we're going to probably work on the seat pan on War Pony a little bit. But Xavier, introduce us to this magnificent creation from Certiflat.
I was just going man, I look really tired there.
You do look really tired there, but you look
That's
huge.
Shot from Daytona Bike Week. I was
You're
like, man,
huge.
I look tired. Lord have mercy. What's happening? How we doing? We good? Yeah? No? Okay. Certiflat welding tables. Dave Lago was cool enough to send us this one. First of all, a lot of guys call them tab and slot systems because that's literally what it is. All of these little slots have tabs, and they go together.
It's an erector set.
It's literally like Legos, but easier if that's possible. I mean, they literally, it's insane. When I got mine, first of all, I digress. The table that we have here is just one of the sizes. They have them in small ones that are butcher block size. They have what they call the Pro Fab block table, which is huge. It's a 4x3 with all kinds of extensions, just like you see here. These are the ends that they make for each one of their tables, which allows you to go to a 6, to an 8, to an actual 10. About the hardest thing you're going to have to do when you're assembling one of these is find a bunch of dudes to come over and help you flip it, because it weighs a ton.
I want one of these that's 5x10 because I want to build car chassis on.
And you know what? Good luck, because you're going to need something.
Yeah.
You're going to need a crane.
Yep.
I had a couple of buddies come over and help me flip my 4x3, 4 big dudes, and we dropped it. And it took a chunk out of my garage.
Oh, my God.
We don't even have to go there, because you know what happens after that. But anyway, I did charge him. The system that this table is built around is literally a top, sides, and an infrastructure, if you will, that literally every tab has a slot that is pre-cut to I can't even tell you how precise they are. It literally, I set my tabletop down, or actually I took my two inner, you can't really see it because underneath, because this side, but it literally has the rails, the inner structure that just goes bloop, 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 and you set that down, you set your top on it, and first and foremost, if you're going to have one of these and you're going to try and do any kind of welding or fabrication, the most important thing is that the thing be level. It's kind of hard not for this thing to be level because it's so perfectly cut that throughout all of the tacking process, and like any other thing, you would tack here and then you move over here for heat dispersion and you move it. I literally would do 3 or 4 tacks to this section here and go back and check it to see if it would move. And I had very, very little movement throughout the whole process. Once the initial tacks are done between the bottom sections, the inner rails, and the top, that's when the mighty men come in, because you have to flip it over. And there's a bunch of different ways people have done it. I went straight to the source, to Dave from Certiflat, and asked him how. And literally, the bottom, the guts to the top are held by U-bolts. And you clamp 4 of them down in a diamond frame, and it pulls everything together. So once you flip it over, then you have to go back and, you know, you do all the rest of your side tacks. And some guys TIG it, some guys MIG it. It just depends on how you want to do it. But the
Big Joe Melky, Snap Fab.
Snap Fab.
Woo, woo!
That's the guy.
You get on that guy's social media, you've made it.
Yeah, he's the man. He's the man. So simple, you know. I mean, you can, from a novice to an expert welder, the process of putting it together and having it level and having it perfect is kind of hard to screw up. It really is. That's the beauty of it. It's so simple, and the fact that it comes in different sizes hey!
You would not believe where they made us park, and he had to go get a piece of angle iron out of the truck.
He went down to Austin.
It's like 2 miles away. It's crazy. It's a haul.
So
listen, man, I'm a motorcycle rider.
Yeah, you're not a. Did you jog back with this?
No. My God, I almost called Uber.
Yeah, you should have. So basically, there's a lot of companies out there. There's a lot of manufacturers that have weld tables. I found this one, and because I can screw up anything, I'll screw up boiling water. This thing is, you literally can't. And the fact that, like I said before, it comes in different sizes, from a guy who just wants a 2x2 to a dude who wants one the size of that couch, and they make them. I've seen them, that they're just these mammoth things, but they're incredible because once you put them together, the legs go in like butter, the casters go on, the bottom pieces, everything literally fits together.
I said come here.
Better than you know. I wanted to find something wrong with it because I'm that guy. I'm like, well, it's not as good as Joe says, or was unbelievable. Thus the name, you know, tab and slot.
At the table?
And once you get them built, they'll probably outlast you, I would think, because they're just that amazing.
And most of us aren't going to live that long.
Well, you know, at least over here, you know.
We got to keep walking to that van.
Yeah, he keeps walking to that van. They're going to be much
One
longer.
more trip to the van for product, and Chris is out. That's
exactly. And weldtable.com is the website. Certiflat, tab and slot. You can punch any of those into your Google search or whatever you search with, and it's going to come up with this. And there's tons of stuff on the website. We just got these. I mean, they're like hot off the press.
Now, and Chris, why don't you and Xavier go over what all those fine gadgets are?
Okay.
Because they don't really know what they all do. That's why I was trying to get Joe to come up.
That's not true. We don't know as much as Joe knows about it.
No, very few people know as much as Joe knows about anything.
That would be a big help if you'd come here and help us explain some of the
Please.
things.
Yes.
Joe.
This one, I mean, anybody who works on anything, especially when you're working by yourself and you need that third hand, fourth hand, fifth hand, this is self-explanatory. You can take these clamps and anywhere on this table that you just need an extra hand to hold on to something, keep it clamped, keep it square while you get a tack weld in. These things are invaluable. They swivel completely around, go down into the table, and once you get it locked into your material.
These guys are going to drown up here without you, Joseph.
It's 100%, nothing going anywhere in that. So
This guy plays
that's the
drums.
basics
That
of
guy
it.
writes magazines, and
You just got done walking back here. I just got done driving back here. I don't know which is more stressful out there right now.
The walk was killer, man. The walk was killer. So help us explain some of this, because we have a little demonstration set up. If you guys have been watching any of the times that we're up here building custom frames, a lot of the times you find yourself, especially when you're hardtail in a stock frame, you find the need to fit two sections of frame together with a slug. We're going to do that here using some of these fixtures.
he's going to say white people.
While Joe talks about this, I'm going to start preparing these two pieces of frame for a slug weld.
Well, the easiest way for me to explain how the tables work with the fixturing squares and clamps and the other things that they've sent you, it's a lot like playing with an erector set. There isn't a right way or wrong way for this stuff to go together. It goes together how you need it to go together. These clamps, they're typically bolted to the table. You can use multiple clamps together to get a fixturing position where you need it to be, whether you're working with tubing or angle iron or square tubing. You can be fixturing up a motorcycle frame if you're wanting to hardtail something. And like you're saying, for having a flat surface to fixture a piece of tubing so that your pieces are straight, true with one another. That's where these clamps like this that have the little V block, you set those in the corresponding holes and you can line up sections of tubing. The holes are perfectly in line with one another. You put the V blocks in line, you lay your tubing. We grab a clamp, drop that into a hole, put a little pressure on it.
Let me use this.
Now your tubing is fixtured. We'd be able to come in with the other piece of tubing, with the other V blocks, and they're perfectly straight with one another. So
That's much better than the way most of us do that.
Well, and that's like we keep talking about, as you get older and you pick up experience, hopefully, by hanging around with other people in the shop and the exposure you get to it.
I'm sure many of us have taken two pieces of tubing and laid it in a piece of angle iron and clamped them in there.
Yep.
Just because that's the straightest thing you've got in the shop.
Or say, here, hold this, don't move.
Don't move.
Right.
Hold my bear.
Hold my bear.
And I'm going to show this on the other side.
Close your eyes, we're about to weld.
That's another feature to the table with the sides the way they are. X is going to take one of these fixtures and bolt it to the side of the table, so you can be adding an extension to the table where you might need it, versus just working on the top of the table. Oh, see, I didn't see how your pieces
And
were
because
going
all the
Working on it.
holes are perfect from each other. I think it's a 2-inch, right, Joe?
Yeah, everything is 2-inch on center, both the
Every
length ways
fixture.
and short ways.
Every fixture, every right angle, whatever you use, just bolts right on.
So will I still be able to make metric stuff on it?
If you're inclined to work with metric stuff, you'll just have to do the conversion to inch
All
to
right.
millimeters. You'll be all
Do the
right.
math. I'll be all right? All right. I'm going to do the
Do
math.
that one that way.
Yeah, he set you up with all of the adjustable
go.
blocks and everything.
Because he's watching you now.
How do we want to get
I
this?
always
Let's get
feel
that one
that.
down there.
And if you're familiar with fixture tables at all, you've probably seen, if you've researched fixture tables, you've seen the heavy
Blue coat.
behemoths that are hundreds, if not thousands of pounds and thousands of dollars for tables. If you have the resources and you have the shop space for one, they're a great tool to have. I tell people these aren't a replacement for those tables. They're an option instead of those tables. The high end tables that are cast tables and they're machine finished, they carry a super tight tolerance within thousandths from end to end of the table of being perfectly flat. If anybody's worked on a motorcycle, whether it's an aftermarket or a production motorcycle,
They weren't made that way.
they don't hold that tight of a tolerance to begin with.
You're getting to NASCAR when you're into that.
So for most stuff you do, when these tables are assembled and you take your time using a straight edge to make sure your table's flat, you're going to hold as tight a tolerance as you'll ever need in the motorcycle or the car world. If you're in aerospace making satellites, maybe you'd want to spend some of your resources on a more expensive table, but that's not what we're doing here.
No.
And it's funny, I actually took your suggestion when I actually assembled mine to get everything flat on top instead of taking the normal action would be to grab a grinder with a flap wheel, and you said to do it all with
the sound effects,
elbow grease and a file, and I was like, oh, this is going to suck.
Every now and again, when you see something posted on social media, or if I post something and you're using a file, you'll have the armchair fabricators are asking, well, why don't you just use a whiz wheel or angle grinder? And it's like, well, if you have to ask me why I'm using a file versus an angle grinder,
right,
that's the reason I'm using a file.
Armchair fabricator. That's good. I'm gonna have to remember.
Well, it is football, pinnacle of football season.
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay, let me get this one.
We recently sponsored a guy. Well, he didn't really sponsor him. He won a contest on Instagram, and he's studying to be a machinist. And machinists still have work tables that I'm not a machinist, so I don't know the right nomenclature, but they'll have tables that they want to keep super flat and super clean, and they'll have special stones used for just cleaning and resurfacing their gauge blocks or their work surfaces. And he took that block to his table and to his squares and got them super clean and super straight.
Wow.
And which is really nice.
Yeah, it's nice. I'm still working on measuring with any kind of measuring tool, really. It's like 1.5 inches and 2 lines.
Are you kidding me?
1.5 inches, 2 lines, and maybe a little bit more.
Okay, so basically, I just prepped this for you. So what I've done is anybody that's familiar with fitting tube together, I've chamfered the edges here so that we'll get a nice penetration on our weld. We have a similar wall thickness slug that we made for this. Now we're going to mark this and drill it for rosette welds and turn this over to Xavier.
Hey, can you explain the whole chamfering thing, though? That is a bit of a mystery to people.
Chamfering?
They make powders and creams for that.
Oh, so that you don't chamfer?
Yeah, so you don't chamfer and you're like...
I understand that now. I wear Gold Bond for that.
You know, when you cut, say you cut a piece of pipe and it's got a 90-degree on it. Well, some people would actually just weld it to each other, which isn't proper. When you chamfer the two ends together, I don't know if you can see that. What you do is you create a valley between the two pieces that are going together.
You have
there's a V right here. What that does is allows the weld to really penetrate down and to attach the two ends so that you have good penetration.
So the chamfer is that you just take it to a grinder or on any kind of surface where you can make it an angle so that you've got an angle going in to make that valley.
Put it on a belt sander.
Because if you don't chamfer it and you just butt weld it together, what you're going to do is you're going to have weld on the outside. Then you're going to finish it, so you're going to grind that weld off, and you won't have had an adequate penetration. So what you've now done is you've really just got a very thin weld on two pieces of metal.
It looks pretty, but it's not going to hold.
It's not going to hold. Now, motorcycle stuff, when you're going 80 miles an hour, you just as soon, I can't think of one piece of a motorcycle I want to come apart at 80 miles an hour.
Well, your pipes they look really good when they're sitting right there, but when you're going down the road and they're vibrating, chances are something's going to go wrong. So that's not the good thing you want.
I did have an old panhead that started riding nice when I was 16. I lived in North Carolina. I was riding through South Carolina, and I thought, oh, finally, I'm getting used to this. I pulled over to get gas, and the old man said, you want me to weld that for you? And I said, weld what? And he looked under my seat, and my frame was broken. And my whole time I was riding, my frame was doing that. And so he went after that leaky panhead with a stick welder.
And just went to town.
Next to the gas pump, and I just said, I got to use the restroom. I was like, but got me home.
So, Joe, since you're more familiar with this company and some of the products, this is a relatively small table that we have here from some of the stuff that I see they have too.
Yeah, as far as the catalog online, there's tables that range from, like you said, small 2-foot square on up to like a 5 by 10. It's actually just short of 5 foot by 10 foot because of the size of a piece of plate steel. Yeah, so do I.
I want to build chassis on it.
I don't have the shop space for it. And all of the fab blocks like this can be made out of 1/4 inch, 3/8, or 1/2 inch plate. The 1/4 inch plate, for most people, that's going to be strong enough for whatever you might be doing. The 3/8 and 1/2 inch plate tables that we make are specifically for guys that are doing chassis work, whereas you're putting welds to a chassis or roll cage, the metal wants to move, and the last thing you want is for your table to flex underneath that stress from the welding process. So we make the tables thicker if you're doing chassis work, or if you're fixturing up to do bumpers or roll cages and you're constantly doing it, the heavier, thicker plate tables are going to be what you want to go with. But the 1/4 inch plate, Dave figured once what kind of force it would take to flex a 1/4 inch plate table, and most people aren't going to do that. Aside from what you see on the website, any size table is available. We do custom size tables all the time, whether it's making different height leg kit to accommodate another workbench, or making it an odd length to mate up to. I got a guy that wants to use one as an outfeed table on his table saw when he's not using it as a welding table. So he wanted a specific width to match his table saw and a specific height to match the table saw.
And you can just order the top kit minus the bases too, can't you?
Correct. Yeah. They're sold separately, so most people will just invest in the kit. Other guys that want it for a specific purpose, there's plenty of people that make their own leg kit that will put shelves and drawers, or they'll make a cubby to hold their welders. Had one guy that made he must have been an engineer, because he had made a leg kit that folded in on itself twice and had like 0 footprint, and he could slide it in behind the cabinet and unfold it when he wanted to use it. So
wow,
the guy had a lot of time.
Yeah.
This is definitely much quicker if you just
as engineers usually think they do.
Exactly.
So,
but options are pretty much limitless. Dave, the owner of the company, he came from the world of making fixtures for manufacturers. Whether it was a roll cage or a tube frame bumper sort of thing, he would design the fixturing for the welding process, and that's how his brain worked into working with 1/4 inch plate to make these fab blocks. It's just kind of how it evolved. And it's one of those, well, no duh, why didn't I think of that?
Yeah.
Take care, Doug. Doug Quinn with Progressive Insurance.
Good night, sir. and it's funny, when mine showed up, I had no idea that it was going to come on a pallet. And the guy was like, "Yeah, Mr. Muriel, we have a pallet for you." And I said, "Oh, that's cool. Well, what is it?" He goes, "I'm not really sure, but it's heavy." And this big rig shows up in front of my house with the forklift and the whatnot. I'm like, "What the hell?" It was awesome. And it took me a minute to get it together, but
some of the smaller, the first table I ever got, and it was a smaller table. It came in like 3 boxes on the UPS truck, but
yeah,
the world we live in, shipping this heavy stuff via freight, it's just just that much easier.
Exactly.
Chris, what are you doing now? What are you doing? Just one big question right now.
Well, because it's going to be in the fixture like this.
Because you're not participating.
We're actually trying to help prep this for Xavier and get the holes for the rosette welds drilled.
What are all the tables like this? Are they all the profab blocks, or do they have? How do they start at?
There's the fab block, which is what you see here, that has 6 sides that you can fixture from, and then I wouldn't necessarily call it a grade lower, but a lighter duty table that's not made out of a 1/4 inch plate. It's made out of 3/16 plate. It's just a flat welding table surface. It doesn't have the side skirts for fixturing. So it's
I've been trying to figure that out.
The weekend guy or somebody that occasionally might weld or fixture something, it's a good, less expensive option than the fab block. So that's called the Pro Table line, where this is the fab block.
Fab block.
And another difference with this one, if we had another table the same size, we could butt it right up to the other table and bolt them together and have a bigger table. Where the pro tables don't have the sides incorporated, so they're not as easy to put together.
Right.
Not that it's impossible.
Right. But they're still built on the same tab and slot system.
Correct. Same pattern as far as the hole size and being 2 inches on center. So the same fixturing tools you use on this table would be used on the pro tables as well.
Gotcha.
All right. Chris, tell us what you guys are doing back here.
We're basically just killing some time while they're catching up. You know, it's been a long time since Joe and Xavier have seen each other. And
Been a while. He's actually the reason why
I know.
I have that. I'm just like,
all of us.
yeah.
Listen, he hooked
I saw that when I came over to South Dakota. I've wanted one ever since.
Hey, because listen, not to bag on Blueco or anything, because Blueco is an amazing table. But for guys like us, for garage guys, that's something that we're going to get at the end of our lathe and our mill and our, that's almost the last tool because it's such a big investment.
Yeah.
But this is such an important tool.
And like I said earlier, at no point do we say these are a replacement for those tables. It's just a different option. And if I had the resources and the floor space, I'd love to have a big, heavy fixture table. But then I'd have to have a forklift to move it too.
Exactly.
You really have to decide where you want that table.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I said that earlier, that when I got mine and I actually did the first tack welds on the structure, on the inner structure, and then did the top, I had to have 2 or 3 buddies from around the corner come help me to flip it over because it was that heavy. And this was minus the legs. And then when I put the legs on, we dropped it.
Joe did not. Joe just
and the
flipped
table
his
didn't
over.
get hurt. It was all perfect. It was all squared up.
I did a couple instruction videos for the website here a couple months ago. One for a 2-foot by 4-foot fab block, and the other one was a 4-foot square pro table. And I was by myself in my shop, running the camera and welding and assembling the video and basically talking to myself all night and moving that fab block around off the floor, flipping it over. So yeah, having a partner to put it together is a benefit.
Yeah, that's what I said. And because I was in the same thing. I was making a video for Chris, and I was sending something to Dave, and I've got my MIG, and I've got this mammoth table. It's huge. I'm like looking at this thing, going, "What have I done, Dave? What have you done to me?"
What Joe does is this: in the instructional video, Joe grabs it underneath.
It just
here,
goes like this.
It goes like this.
Yeah. What Xavier did was call me up and said, "Man, I'm gonna have to go get some of my neighbors to help me get this thing on the other side."
Dude, there is no way. I mean, just the box of the stuff that he sent that I brought in today weighs more than I do, and it was just 2 little boxes. And I'm looking at this mammoth table, and I'm thinking, there's no way, man. So call it. Hey, what are you doing? Oh, we just finished dinner. Oh, stop Netflix. Come on, I need you, bro.
It's good, 100% American steel. It's
heavy.
Best quality we can make it.
It's heavy metal. Get it?
Heavy metal.
All right.
Basically, to answer your question, what we did is
Get it?
We've drilled both sides of the pipe here, and we've used a little tool here from Irwin to countersink those, and same kind of deal. We're looking to get penetration in the weld, and what that means is we've opened the hole up a little bit sideways so that you're not just welding to the outside of the pipe, so you're actually welding down into the metal. Mark's done that on the other side too. We're going to get one side of the slug put in and the tack welding done, and then we'll put both these together. And if this was a hardtail fixture or piece of frame that we're putting together, once we get it into a fixture like this, you like to do as much of the welding as you can because the nature of...
Right, so this is the process that you go through. If you want to connect 2 pieces of tubing, this is the proper way to do it so that it has structural integrity and isn't going to break at the weld. We talked about chamfering, and then Chris has produced this slug on his hillbilly lathe today.
Don't laugh. Listen, it's hard to do stuff on the road.
That's
when you're in your
right.
shop and you need something, you walk over to your lathe, you run it down a little bit, like it.
We needed what's called a slug. We needed the piece of tubing that'll slide in here. We didn't have one that was the right OD, outside diameter, to slip in there. So Chris put that on a screwdriver, slowed it with his gloves on the belt sander, for what, an hour today?
But you know, the important thing is this is similar wall tubing that you want to do that for flexion and for other reasons.
You got a chamfer, you got that slipped in there.
But the beauty and the point about that thing is like we've all seen it, we've all heard it. We've all done it. The old timers, they did. You know, this is how they did things. It's called make and do. You know,
this is called Sunday at 7:30. You know what I mean? I don't care how many tools you have. When the welder runs out of gas,
yes,
the bit breaks on the lathe.
Yes,
you learn how to do stuff like this in the shop at Sunday at 7:30.
Or if you simply have said, that's not a tool that I can afford right now, so I'm going to figure out a different way to get. I've got more time right now than I've got money for a tool, or I don't have the space for that tool or anything else. So, but the nice thing is you can now. There are a lot of companies out there that are making tabletop lathes now that are perfect for what 90% of garage builders are going to use a lathe for. So you can get them relatively inexpensively, or you can just do it the way. Actually, I would do that at home, which is just that way.
All right, so
yeah, they can because the cameras are all right here.
Let's get some tacks in this thing.
Yeah, right there. Oh yeah, they can see you.
We got cameras all over, Joe. It's scary. It's like being in my bedroom.
Hey.
I swear. Jackie, why don't you tell us what's going on at the Progressive Parlor?
Well, if you're just joining us over here at the Progressive Main Stage, South Dakota Joe is in the house, Xavier. Hi.
Oh, there she is.
Hi. Welcome. We've got the Grease and Gears presentation going on right now. This awesome skill set going on up on the main stage. They're going to be here all weekend long. But here in the Progressive Parlor, we are still right in the middle of a Rock and Roll Friday here. First day here at the Big Bike Show, hooking you up with all sorts of awesome free goodies and awesome stuff going on over here. So come on over and get signed up. If you want a free tattoo, airbrush tattoo, that is, from our friend Weiser Honor is in the house, dishing out those super awesome, super lifelike, and super free airbrush tattoos. We are also signing you up right now over here for your chance to win this year's grand prize giveaway motorcycle, this beautiful custom BMW. When you get signed up to win this beautiful bike, I'm going to throw in a free hat or t-shirt just for getting signed up for that great contest. Last but certainly not least, if you want to find out exactly why we are rated #1, we've got a great agent on hand that would love to chat with you about making the switch on over to Progressive Motorcycle Insurance. Come on over, get yourself a fast and free quote, and I'm going to hook you up with a free bandana just for doing so. Come on over, folks, grab a seat. We are just in the middle of another great presentation from our friends at Grease and Gears Garage.
Forever Wheels.
She swings that out there, doesn't she? Grease and Gears Garage. I like it. All right. Good, folks. We are appreciative that Progressive Motorcycle Shows,
Ken Coney owes you money for that.
have given us an opportunity to be on the Progressive stage, and we're trying to honor them by not drinking and cussing. So far, we've done a pretty good job, I think, this weekend.
There it is.
Look,
It's early.
It's still early. It's Friday.
This is exactly why we talk about like the value of a tool like this. If this was a section of frame that I was working on the side of a hardtail or something that I was making, to have the ability to check this at these points and make sure that we have flat and level and everything's in line, that's priceless.
Yeah, it's one of those things that helps take the guesswork out of it, you know, and
I haven't thrown at anything.
being able to invest in a fixture table for the average guy would have been near impossible to be able to justify spending the kind of money like we were talking about for the big heavy table. So it's using the same fixturing tools, the Bessie clamps that a guy would use on a big expensive table, where you're just able to, put this into your arsenal where you might not normally be able to.
Invest the money into the table, but then he wouldn't have any attachments because he'd be broke.
Right,
so you'd
right.
have it's like having a motorcycle with no engine. So cool, doesn't do you any good.
So what do you think, Slick? You want to go to work on that?
Yeah.
Where you want to be? 80? 100?
Yeah, 80's good.
Huh?
Dun, dun, dun,
So yeah, like he said, I mean, look at this. It ain't going anywhere, and that's what you want, because as soon as I start to put heat to this, it's going to want to move. So depending on if I do it correctly, I can tack it in. I can drop in my rosette wells right here, and it's not going to go anywhere. Then when it cools off, then you're ready for final welding. So nothing has actually moved. That's the beauty of this table, is that once you set it down, man, if you do it right, it ain't going anywhere. You know.
Hey, you think if they see me doing with this with proper form, I can get a job as a Wimbledon ball boy?
You could. Go.
Not that kind. We do this because you can get flash burn in your face and eyes if you look into where somebody's welding. It's akin to a sunburn. It's almost identical. A lot of people will close their eyes, thinking, particularly when they're MIG welding, thinking they're protecting their eyes. Your eyelids aren't thick enough to protect your corneas from that flash burn. So always wear proper gear or look away. Do not do that. Basically, in about an hour, you'll realize that you have what feels like a sunburn, and the next morning you'll wake up and your eyes will be crusted shut with the medical term for it is big, thick, yellow eye boogers. And your eyes will itch and burn for about a week.
Yellow eye boogers.
Big, thick, yellow eye boogers.
And I learned this the hard way because
we really want to
tack welding this is not a big deal, but if you're going to be doing consistent amount of welding, everything has to be covered. Your wrists, your arms. I did it one time in a sleeveless shirt, and my shoulders not only were red, but they stunk because I could smell like almost like burnt skin.
Flesh.
It was the worst thing ever.
I am the worst about welding with no arm coverage, and my arms are paying
stinky
a
shoulders
toll for it.
Yeah,
I mean, it's bad for you.
And one of my buddies was like, "Well, bet you'll never do that again." I thought, "Nope." You know, so something quick like this. No need to like dress up, but I mean, definitely, if you're gonna weld, man, it's your skin.
Have you seen the guys now? And I mean, they're expensive. They're like $350. The welding goggles.
Oh yeah.
That these guys get, and they're really nice. But I don't get it. Their faces are burning. I just don't understand. I mean, if you're gonna weld, just use the right gear, man. And if somebody's not welding with the right gear, don't have them weld on your stuff. If they can't afford the helmet, they can't afford to be welding.
When you ask them what they're doing, and they go, "No, man, I just closed my eyes." You're like, "Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna."
Yeah, you kind of need your eyes open while you're doing that.
The girlfriend's calling. I gotta go. Bye. You know, not good. Not good.
If you ever want to find out if you're welding right or wrong,
tell me, Joe. Tell me.
Just post a video of you welding on the internet.
Yeah.
Then you'll find out.
Because what was that term again? What did you call that?
Armchair fabricators.
Right.
Well, they'll tell you if you're doing it right or wrong.
Well, you know if you're a good welder if you're posting your welds online, period. Because they call it weld porn.
That's not true. I post my welds all the time. And I sit there and smile. Everybody be like, "I wouldn't even post those online, bro." And I'm like, "Dude, you should have seen them last month."
You know, it's like when people start saying, "What kind of bird was that did that on your material?" You know, you realize you probably shouldn't be posting your welds. No, I pick on Austin Andrella. He's the worst, man. If he didn't post it, he didn't weld that day. He's always posting his welds.
Well, that ugly softail I did for the hot bike tour, all aluminum. That's the first time I had done a bike that all of the fabricated parts were aluminum, so I left all of the welds untouched and bare. Just to remind myself of where I was when I was teaching myself how to weld aluminum.
I did a 49/50 Chevy pickup truck. I chopped it 6 inches, stretched the cab 6 inches and the doors, and did the hood, pancaked the hood and everything. And I left all my welds bare, and I thought, man, I'm just leaving this thing raw metal. I was so proud of myself. And then Brian Fuller, I was living in Atlanta. Brian Fuller came out with his bare metal car that was chopped and all his welds. I decided to go ahead and body work my truck. I was like, nah, covering them up. So, they don't have to be. An ugly weld isn't necessarily a weld that's not good. It's just some people weld really pretty. Like Xavier, we'll show you an example of beautiful professional welds when Xavier gets done.
Sometimes those really pretty, colorful welds are contaminated welds.
Well, people do. They want their welds to have that rainbow look, and they're not supposed to. You're supposed to have that in the metal on the outsides of your weld, but not necessarily in the weld. So
you can't have that rainbow look at your Mexican bar.
No.
No. Maracas. You guys want the best Mexican lasagna any place, the best biker Mexican restaurant in town is Maracas in Deep Ellum. Go there and get Mexican lasagna. We had it last night. It was delicious, and it's a great biker bar.
That's something new I learned from Texas.
Mexican lasagna.
No, deep ellum.
Deep ellum.
Ellum.
You guys, everybody
Ellum,
here
not
knows
Ellen.
what deep ellum means,
Ellen,
right?
not Ellen.
It's Elm Street was that street that went all the way down into there, and the black blues musicians played all the way at the end of that, and it was Deep Elm Street, and they said Deep Ellum.
Let me
That's
give it
how
a
they
shot.
pronounce
Yep.
it. It's a Deep Ellum. It's a good.
Let's see where we're at. See what's up. Let's check it out.
That's why you don't get a microphone. That was terrible.
You said it last night.
I know, but still bad.
Huh? Yeah. Yep. Once you get that stitched, just lay into it.
Some funky looking handlebars, aren't they, Mark?
Wait, see how we're
We got to switch.
we're
Oh
like
yeah, I gotta.
we're like the
Like,
Stygian
no,
witches.
bro, let me borrow your glasses.
Hey, and I tell you what, it doesn't matter how long you've been welding, how long you've been doing anything. Taking a class doesn't hurt every once in a while. And I'm not the world's best welder. I'll go ahead and tell you now because I never post my welds online. But I took a TIG class 2 years ago at a local trade school. It was a good deal. In Des Moines, they've got a non-union trade school. And for $500, you can take 40 hours of instruction in welding right there. It's really
Yeah,
nice.
it was.
But that guy looked at me. I hadn't welded in about 3 months because I'd moved. And he said, the instructor said, "Have you ever welded before in your life?" And I said, "Dude, I cannot see the puddle." Because with TIG welding, you're looking for that puddle and you're dipping, you dip it, dip, 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 dip. Couldn't do it. And he said, "Hold on a second." He went to his office. He comes back. He put a cheater lens in my
Your helmet.
helmet, and I was like, "Holy moly, look, there's a welder in front of me." But in 3 months, my eyes had gotten that bad. So now I call them my old lady glasses now. I have to wear my old lady glasses to do anything. I put them on the end of my nose like I'm going to knit. Look. But in my helmet now, I got a cheater lens.
Oh, what the hell? What was going on there?
Chris is mumbling.
Well, we had the welder set for
He's filling the puddle. He's filling the weld.
And again, he's got he's doing a rosette weld, and so he's drilled a hole, or Mark drilled a hole, and then he also countersunk it so that it makes a cup. So when he's welding that, he's not just going to be welding in a hole. He's actually going to be getting more penetration on that metal because he's actually got that basically another chamfered surface that he's doing instead of a 90-degree weld on that. So
It's kind of like filling a
first
little
we had the
pothole.
welder set for pulse. It must have got bumped in the trailer or something. It was kind of goofy.
it was helping you, huh?
Yeah, that doesn't help me.
Yeah.
But there'll be some guy out there who goes, "Yeah, bro, no, pulse. That's good."
Pulse, man, that's good.
I'm gonna steal
Welders,
that.
you can set TIG welders up so that well, not all of them, most of them, a lot of them, so that it will pulse for you. You're working it with your foot, but it'll have a consistent kind of on-off of the voltage, and it can be helpful. When you're doing production welding, I think it can be helpful. But
Most of the welding I'd ever done, I never used it just because I would start welding and think, I should try using the pulse setting. But then I'd be afraid that, okay, I'll mess up what I'm working on, so I'd never try it.
I don't have enough money to get
Right,
more
exactly.
material.
Yeah, I don't have time to just mess around. But when I got into welding aluminum, that's where I really found that using the pulse setting was better, because aluminum is, once your material gets hot and you start welding, you just have to keep going. It's not with steel. You can create a puddle and you can just sit there and move that puddle all day long.
With aluminum,
just
if
start
you don't
dabbing it,
move, you're
stop.
going to just have a hole.
Yeah, big hole.
So using that pulse setting, once I really got comfortable, welding with aluminum, and I started using the pulse setting, it made a world of difference. And I just actually got a new Lincoln machine delivered to my house in South Dakota yesterday.
that.
So I'm excited to
Nice.
put that to work. The welder I have at home when I went out on my own, I needed to get a TIG welder, and I went to Craigslist and found one that was in my price range. It had knobs and switches and buttons to adjust everything. but I'm not so sure they're really connected to anything.
Right.
Because no matter how much I would adjust stuff, it would just still weld the same. So I just got.
So if Sin Central Garage comes and buys that old TIG welder from you, I've upgraded.
Yeah.
I know it was an upgrade when I got it because I didn't have one. So it works. You just got to get used to how it works, and there's no adjusting it.
You know, that's the other thing. I mean, and Lincolns are great machines. People, you know, it's like Crips and Bloods with blue and red and all that crap. But, you know, people like Miller, people like Lincoln. The less expensive welders that are made by Asian countries and India, they've really come a long way. If you're just getting into TIG welding,
not mine.
if you're just getting into TIG welding, though, you can get into TIG welding with an inexpensive unit if it's not going to be something you're doing all the time.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm a little under.
Tried.
See?
I'm a little under.
Now you got
Well,
some pellet
not all
time.
the products that come from Asia are good.
I'm a little under, but the purpose of this was to just get this thing started and show you guys what we're doing. Anybody curious about these tables? Want to get a look at this? Anybody? You want to come up here and check it out? Anybody? You're
Got any
welcome to
builder-
if you want to come up from.
Yeah, come on up, please. Got any builders in the house? If you haven't seen one of these tables, this table really will change how you build stuff.
Just watch because it's really hot, obviously, but see what I'm saying about how nice and sturdy that is.
Well, and these clamps, these were the fixtures that we've used to put the tubing down, and so that's just, I mean.
And these are some of the stops that they've got here. That if you're welding flat or tubular or square tubing, and you've got a different weird angle that you need to fixture a couple parts, this allows you to create different angles.
I've never done it.
And fixture. Yep. And then you'd bring your flat stock in against these stops and clamp them down the same way they clamp the tubing. So it's.
Watch that thing go.
Yeah, see.
Yeah, these have an adjustable throat in and out versus these that are fixed. And I should say, this table has just got all of the 16 millimeter holes that's kind of an industry standard for this type of a clamp. And they're just a friction fit as far as when you start to put pressure, they kind of wedge in the hole. We do make these tables that will alternate from the 16 millimeter holes to a tapped hole if you use fixturing blocks that use bolts. So there's even different options as far as what you do for your fixturing. There's a lot of guys that'll use fixturing blocks and hardware that you'd use on your mill, and they'll use that for fixturing on their table, and that's why tables.
But if you got this table and you're using it, and you realize that you needed that, you could tap these yourself.
You'd be working with pretty large bolts, but
Yeah.
anything's possible.
Listen, R.J. Powell actually made his own table like that. He went totally insane for a year with the magnetic drill, the whole bit. I don't suggest that you sit down and make one of these tables, especially for the fair value that you're going to get from Certiflat.
That's what most people end up finding out. At one time when Dave first came out with these, he was offering the tables pre-cut. He could ship you all the parts. Or he would sell you the DXF files if you had a laser or a plasma table at your disposal, and you could just cut your own and assemble it in-house. And so there's other companies that make similar product. The thing Dave has always tried to do is make these affordable for anybody. When I first met Dave, and I just kind of asked him what his plan was and what he wanted to do, and he said, what he said to me is, I want to make precision laser cutting affordable to everybody. And that was his goal. And that's kind of where this table come from, that, you could draw this up in CAD and have a local shop cut it for you, and maybe you'd spend less money. But really, a lot of guys will look at that and research it, and then they'll come back and say, I'm just going to buy the table. It's priced right. Dave buys steel by the truckload, thousands and thousands of pounds of steel at a time. So it's priced as well as it can be, and him still be able to keep the lights on, really.
Exactly. Yeah.
I said it's worth every dime.
And the coolest thing is if you don't want to go and you don't want to go to the upper line, not that the other one is any lower, that you can still get the same effect with all of these accessories with the entry level table.
Right. All of the
Everything.
like we said,
been
the
so
whole pattern is
grumpy.
the same on the
I'm
lighter
afraid
duty
to help.
pro
You know how he
tables.
yells at
So all
Heather
these
all the
clamps
time?
would do the
I'm
same
afraid
thing.
he's going to yell at us.
A lot of guys that
I'm gonna
like
yell at you now.
in their shop,
See?
the parts that they make are handlebars.
Right, right.
I follow a few guys on social media
trying to
that's what they
navigate
do
them around.
is they make handlebars and they have pro tables.
Right.
It's efficient and it
it
does
didn't
what they
break-
need to
it didn't
do.
break the bank.
Yeah,
Chris
it did
keeps
what they
me
needed
around.
it to do.
Right.
Because I'm just useful enough for him today.
Okay, so we let that thing cool down a little bit, flipped it over. You saw while I was holding it up, it's nice and straight still.
Honestly, that right there, I'm thinking about doing a set of, I've got handlebars in my head.
Yeah.
That's it.
That
There it
right
is.
there just saved me and my shop an hour of turning it over and getting it set up so I can weld the other side.
Right.
And for me, that's $75. Or to my customer, that's $75.
Yep.
That's money in my pocket right there.
When it comes to business, my problem is I like to do everything. I'm not one of those guys that focuses to be the best at one thing. But me and X were talking about guys that do handlebars, and that's all that their shop does. And you see them every day on social media kicking out handlebars. They invest, or they had a welder. They invest in a fixture table that fits their needs, and a tubing bender, and they're in business.
Justin Coleman, Torch Industries, just popped in mind out in Phoenix, man. That's what he does. He pumps out those handlebars.
Yep.
And the power of the internet and social media allows you to be a global producer. I'm fortunate in that way that I've exploited social media to the point that I can do business around the world.
Knock it out?
I'll give it a shot with that big wire.
Yeah.
There's sometimes I think I should focus and become the best at one thing, but
We were talking about that about you last night.
right.
That came to
Don't
mind.
you wish Joe would focus on one thing and just do it right?
There's times that I think I should.
Why does he have to be so good at everything?
Joe makes his own tools. Where are those
Here,
hands?
hang
Where are
on,
the
I'll get
mallets?
Yeah, exactly.
I brought my mallets.
And by the way, thank you in person for that mallet you sent me. That was awesome. I haven't even started with it, but it's in my garage and sitting right.
Joe,
Like, one of these days,
being a metal worker, decided he gets this wood
Want a little more?
from a company that builds
I
gun
get wood.
stocks.
Wood.
He gets wood.
You said
Yeah.
wood.
We're like 8th graders when we get on stage. I
Yeah.
said wood. He said doo-doo.
We're not at the Rot Rally.
Yeah. So anyway, Joe
That
makes
keeps
these
coming
metal
up.
shaping mallets.
That's $25 more.
$25 more. Rot Rally got set again. And then he conned his father into making these wonderful shot bags, which I'll leave them up here so that you can come see them. They're nice, heavy-duty shop bags that are super nice. And Joe at Snap Fab, so you can go to www.snap-fab.com. That's www.snap
Can't see.
subtraction mark
I can barely.
fab.com.
If you don't know what a hyphen is, I've got Snap Fabrications too. If you like using your keyboard.
I've had more people in the last several years ask me what a hyphen is. They think it's the backward backslash, but it's a hyphen.
I tried to buy the URL without the hyphen. I type in snapfab.com. They wanted like $16,000 for that URL.
Yeah.
I put a hyphen in there, $12.
Yeah, there's a guy that owns, my shop is Sin Central Garage. There's a guy that owns sincentral.com. For no reason, he wants $20,000 for it. So that's what I did. I put sin-central.com. I'm like, come on, guy. You're never going to use it. He's owned it for like 10 years. Sounds cool, though. He's going to do I know he wants to do something dirty with it. My shop's a 501c3. We're registered as a religious organization. Everything we make, we give to orphans in Mexico. Seriously, we work in orphanages in Mexico and schools in Honduras. And this guy's holding out so that he can do something dirty with my shop name. I know. You type in Sin Central, though, you get some weird stuff popping up, I've noticed. I don't know what I was thinking when I named the shop. I knew what I was thinking. I didn't think all the way through it again.
And if you were Portuguese, tudo bem.
Joe, that's Tim Skates. He has the same bike that he's been dragging around the country now for the last 2 years here in the show. Tim, go home and build something new, all right?
Grab that other.
Can't you take after Roy and Nikki Martin over there?
Watch, because it's not as it's
Are you guys going to get Jack Daniels? Yeah.
Daniels
Are you
and
leaving
tacos.
now? I'm at work.
Jack
He can't go play.
tacos.
Doing the Lord's work, building motorcycles. Uh-huh.
Are you having a Sunday service?
Yeah, I'll do a Sunday service here if we can take up an offering. While we got time, I actually got my schooling and I got my master's degree in theology from Emory University, and I got ordained by the United Methodist Church to be a missionary. And this sounds weird, I like doing funerals because that's a point at which people are really willing to hear some stuff. Man, I hate doing weddings. Bride glorification, I can't stand it. I'm surprised I haven't killed a groom's mother yet. They're the worst.
I need better glasses.
You want to use mine?
What strength are yours?
Mine are just 175s. What are yours? Here, try mine.
Not enough. That's what mine are.
I know, I did the same thing. I was like, I can barely see.
Try these.
That's better. Yours don't have thumbprints, at least.
Yep, I try to keep the thumbprints out of the center. What's that? What? He's just mean. He's just mean on me, just like a rattlesnake with a toothache. With one tooth.
There's two of us from South Dakota here, me and Bob.
Well, man, the population of South Dakota is now 6. You guys get home, the place will sink. Hey, I'm from Iowa, man, so you're in good company.
He keeps saying that, and everybody from Iowa goes,
I know.
man, you just got here.
And I'm
Trust
the
me,
only
I'm sure
Texan on stage.
there's nobody from Iowa here. Iowa has everything they need. They don't need to go anywhere. Unless it's South Dakota to get away from it all. Because you get away from everything in South Dakota. Unless you go to North Dakota. I'm not even sure why. I think God made North Dakota so that South Dakota had something to attach it to. Otherwise, it'd be floating on one side.
Yeah, I separate myself from North Dakota. I tell people I'm a Southern boy. I live in the northernmost southern state of the country.
There you go.
So.
The northernmost southern state.
I'm actually I lived in Georgia for 25 years, so that's why I talk funny. Well, I mean, I say stupid stuff that's not funny, but I have a funny accent. People in Iowa, too, do, though. If the northern part, they sound like they're from Minnesota.
Here I thought this gal was taking pictures of us and shooting video, and she's just shooting selfies of her tattoo over there.
I saw her out there doing this.
I thought it was us. And I was like, what is she doing? It's like, she's not taking pictures of us.
I thought
She's
she was
one of the Kardashians. She's out there.
I thought she was like this, like, yeah, look at my...
She's adding to her Instagram story right now.
First I was like, ma'am, if you're trying to see if it's shaved under your arm, you got it. It's cool. It looks good. No problems there.
I thought she was flexing her bicep. I was like, right on. Yeah.
Do not act a fool in front of this stage. You will get called out.
It's towards the end of the day. We're tired. We're hungry.
The 8th graders will call you
We had
out.
Mexican food twice yesterday, so those of us that aren't used to eating it on a consistent basis
There's something in the Constitution.
had a little rumbly-tumbly last
about
night.
the Constitution. The Constitution. I don't have the Constitution for Mexican food twice in the same day.
I don't either. That's why you don't get a microphone. Jackie, how much longer do the people have to look at everything Progressive has at the Progressive International Motorcycle Show?
Well, my friends, we have had a super fun rock and roll first day here at the Big Bike Show, but you've only got about 1 more hour to come on over. Get yourself signed up and take advantage of all the awesome free stuff going on over here. We're dishing out those free tattoos, airbrush tattoos, that is, from our friend Weiser Honor, award-winning TV celebrity airbrush tattoo artist over here. So come on over, get yourself hooked up. If you want to win a brand new free motorcycle, we're giving away this beautiful BMW. And when you get signed to win that beautiful bike, I'm going to throw in a free hat or t-shirt just because we can. Last but certainly not least, if you'd like to find out exactly why we are rated #1, we've got a great agent on hand that would love to talk to you about making the switch and how you can save more money by switching over to Progressive Motorcycle Insurance. He has some great bandanas to give away. Head on over, get yourself that fast, free quote, free bandana goes with it. All the best stuff going on is going on over here at Progressive Motorcycle Insurance.
Woo! That is right. All right, folks. Chris?
Xavier.
Xavier?
Joe.
Yes.
Joe. Mark. This is the Grease and Gears Garage crew. We just wanted to invite you in to hang out in our garage environment for a little while. We're going to be here all weekend. Look at the board, see when we're going to be back, and come back and see us. If there's something in particular that you want to get more hands-on with, let us know. We'll bring you up on stage. If you have any questions about what we've been doing, you can go to Facebook and you can go to our Facebook at Cycle Source. You can go. We Facebook Live this across all the cities, this whole tour. You can go back and check out all of our segments at cyclesource.com, motorcycleshows.com, and jmpcycles.com. Pat Jansen, Grease and Gears Garage with Joe Melky. Got Xavier Muriel, Chris Callan, and Mark Pachetti. Did I get it right? Ho! Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you tomorrow.
Close.